Welcome to Lesson 8. Today's video is all about preventing sexually transmitted infections. Let's start on page 42 today with the preview story. Tina and her partner Renee had been going out with each other for many months and really enjoyed each other's company. They talked about issues that were important to each of them and discussed openly many sexual issues as well. They spent time with each other's family and they allowed each other the personal space they needed. One of the sexual issues they discussed was how far each was willing to go sexually, and they agreed they would always use protection when things got hot. However, one day Tina became concerned when a small skin irritation appeared in her genital region. It was a small red area that itched for several days and then formed a small scab, but finally disappeared. When the small sensitive spot eventually went away, Tina passed it off as nothing. So what are the facts in this story? Well, we know that Tina and Renee are in a relationship. We know that Tina got a sore on her genitals and that the sore eventually went away. Do you think Tina should have waited to see what happened to the sore area? Why or why not? I can't answer that for you. I would hope you would say no, because it could be nothing, but it could be the sign of something more serious. So anytime you're concerned, it is best to get it checked out. Should Tina have told Renee about the sore? Again, I hope you would say yes, because if it is a sign of an STD, that might be something that Renee needs to know. And how about right off the top of your head, can you name at least 2 places in your community where you could go to get a health checkup or to get tested if you were in Tina's shoes with this sore? If not, we'll get that covered. All right, so in this lesson, we're going to cover the common STIs and their symptoms, ways that STIs can be transmitted, and some community resources for testing. All right, so let's move on to the bottom of page 42. What does STI stand for? S stands for sexually, so this means it's related to having sexual contact. T is for transmitted, which means it's passed from one person to another. And I is for an infection, which is an invasion of bacteria or a virus or a parasite, something that's not normally found in the body. All right, so what are some of the STIs you have heard of? So these are some. Maybe you've heard of these. Chlamydia. How about gonorrhea? Hepatitis B, herpes, HIV, HPV. Have you heard of any of those? How about pubic lice? Syphilis? Right. On page 43, it is the STI worksheet. So let's take a look at the worksheet in your packet. The top of the worksheet, it says, for each of the following STIs, check whether it is caused by a virus, a bacteria, or something else, something other, like a parasite or a mite. And then also that last column, you're going to write yes or no. Is it curable? Then answer the questions on the bottom of the page. To view the slideshow, you are going to, it says click here on your worksheet, but it's right here. If you click this link, it's going to take you to a website where you will get all the information you need to fill out that table. I am warning you, there are some pretty graphic pictures on that website. But I also want to state this. I'm not sure about you, but my doctor has never gotten the camera out and taken a picture of anything on my body at any time in my whole life. So generally, when we see pictures of STIs and things, usually those are pretty severe cases. So please keep that in mind, but I did want to give you that warning. And then for the bottom of the page where you're identifying a clinic, if you click on the website links on the bottom of the slideshow, you should be able to, or you could type it in, you should be able to access the information you need for the bottom of the page. All right, and then after you complete that, let's go ahead and turn to page 44. What are the symptoms, some of the common symptoms of STIs? So on the far left side, we have, in your packet, you have a table. The far left side is just for males. The middle is for males and females, and the far right is for females only. So let's start with the center column. Some common symptoms of STIs for both males and females are, first box, write the first bullet, sores, bumps, or blisters near the sex organs or mouth, burning or pain when urinating, swelling or redness in the throat, swelling of the lymph nodes near the genitals or swelling of the genitals, and feeling the need to urinate often. For the female only, abnormal vaginal discharge or odor, a deep pain in the pelvis or vagina, burning or itching of the vagina, and bleeding from the vagina other than regular menstrual flow. And for males only, a drip or drainage from the penis, burning or itching in the genital area, swelling of one or both testicles. And note at the bottom, might even want to highlight that. The most common symptom is no symptoms at all. So if you have been sexually active, it is really important to be open with your doctor, because it's possible that you could have some of these signs, or you could have a sign of an STI that's in an area that you cannot see and you can't feel any symptoms. So the only way to know would be to get checked by a doctor. Bottom of page 44. If you have had sex, get an STI checkup. If you have been infected, get treated for that STI. Also, if you have been infected, notify sex partners so they can get treated. And be sure to protect yourself from further infection. Remember when we covered contraceptions in class, we covered a few ways we can prevent STIs, right? The number one method would be abstinence. No genital contact, no way you can get STIs sexually, right? Male condoms and female condoms also do a decent job at preventing STIs. All right. The Department of Public Health. Just so you know, your local public health department staff can notify your partners of their risk status confidentially. So if you've been diagnosed with an STI and you don't feel comfortable contacting a partner, your local health department can do that for you, and that can be kept confidential. They can also provide counseling for you and your sex partners, and help you get treatment for your STIs. How do you locate a local health clinic? Well, here's a couple of ways. We have the familypact.org site and the teensource.org site. And when you get to those sites, it might ask you for your zip code or your local area, and then you'll get the resources closest to you. You can also do the texting format that we covered in class, where you text the word clinic and your zip code to 877-877, and you will get the closest clinics to your zip code. All right, we are not going to play the game show today. Before we do the wrap up, I want to point out that in your packet on pages 45 and 46, you have a table. Okay, what I'd like you to do real quick, if you don't have a highlighter, go grab a highlighter. There's some information I want you to highlight. All right, so you have all of these STIs listed. The STI name is on the far left column. Transmission means how we can get it. So remember, we can get all of them sexually, but for many of them, there's other ways we can get it as well, such as from a mother to a baby as the baby is passing through the birth canal. Or how about from infected clothing? Or from using needles, sharing drug needles. You have some signs and symptoms, and some health consequences, and testing and treatment. And this might also help you with the worksheet in your packet to help you figure out if they're curable or not. All right, next to chlamydia, if you go over to health consequences, I would like you to highlight the first bullet point. Chlamydia can lead to pelvic inflammatory disease. So that is a serious illness that can affect a person's ability to reproduce. You might not ever know that you have chlamydia because you never get tested, because you never showed symptoms. But inside your body, it can be a pelvic inflammatory disease, can be doing some permanent damage to your reproductive system. And you might not figure that out until years down the road when you're trying to get pregnant. Under gonorrhea, the next one, I would like you to do the same thing. Under health consequences, please highlight gonorrhea can lead to pelvic inflammatory disease. Under the next one, hepatitis B, in that second column under transmission, if you can highlight the second bullet point where it says hepatitis B is also transmitted by sharing infected needles and drug equipment. Under herpes, under the signs and symptoms column, if you can please highlight that first bullet point, painful blisters or sores on the genitals, rectum, or mouth that break, crust over, and then heal. Those are herpes blisters. So when a person has those herpes blisters, that is when they are most likely to transmit the virus to somebody else. Somebody with herpes can take medication that helps to dry up those blisters, but you still have the virus. All right, on page 46, HIV under transmission, can you please highlight that second bullet? HIV can be transmitted by sharing needles and drug equipment. Also, for HIV, under the health consequences column, can you please highlight HIV is a gradual deterioration of the immune system that can lead to opportunistic infections. Those are those very rare illnesses that only happen with people who have a compromised immune system. All right, under HPV or human papillomavirus, if you go over to the signs and symptoms column, can you please highlight the very first one? Most people, 9 out of 10, with HPV do not have visible warts. And last one, under pubic lice, far right column, testing and treatment, second bullet, pubic lice is curable with over-the-counter shampoos and creams. All right, so let's do the wrap up real quick. Number 1, true or false? Common STIs in young adults include chlamydia, gonorrhea, and human papillomavirus. That is true. Number 2, true or false? The only way an STI can spread from one person to another is through penis-vagina contact. That is false. Number 3, in California, a list of family pack clinics will be sent to your phone if you text the word clinic plus your zip code to 877-877. That is true. And number 4, true or false? The most common symptoms of STIs is nothing. That is true. No symptoms at all. All right, so I'd like you to think about the most important or interesting thing you've learned today as you've learned about these different STIs and the signs and symptoms and whether they're treated easily or cured or not. Ask yourself how committed you are to protect yourself and others from STIs. Ask a parent to review this information with you and to tell you what STIs they were aware of when they were a teen. And what would they recommend to someone if he or she thought that they might have an STI? And that concludes lesson 8.